Hey folks, in this video we are going to cook what the recipe calls smothered pork with Gouda grits. So, fair warning, these are the best grits you will ever have. Even my Yankee wife loves them and asked me to cook them. So, let's get right into it. Presentation on this dish is pretty simple, just a bed of grits and a scoopful of goodness. It's got a lot of southern ingredients in here, and here's a look at them. Of course, the Gouda for the grits, we've got ham for the pork, onions, bell peppers, tomatoes, but then we've also got some heavy cream and some chicken broth. The magic to this dish is also the Zatarain's blackened seasoning. Oh, right there you can see my little helper put the bell pepper back on. This is the first dish I used the Zatarain's blackening season on, and in about 2 months I'm on my third bottle of it. The stuff is just absolutely incredible. You can find it at pretty much any grocery store. I haven't had any trouble finding it at Walmart or Publix. It is absolutely incredible. I encourage you to try that on anything that sounds Southern or Cajun. Can't go wrong with it. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and take this paper wrapping, and there's my little man putting the sage back onto the cutting board. We're going to cut the little tips off of there goes our sage. We're going to cut the tips off of our garlic. That's just that little brown tip that they get on them. I like to just chop that off so it doesn't get into the mix. Then we're going to dice up our onions. And I've talked about how I like to dice onions on a lot of other videos, but I'll talk about it again because onions are so common in so many dishes. I like to chop off the ends and then remove the top layer or two if need be. Most of the time you do need to move that second layer. Then we'll slice them almost julienne style. Julienne would be a lot thinner than this. Julienne makes really razor thin slices, but we're just going to make some slices there, turn it around, and then do some cross chopping. And notice how my fingers are curled back. That is so that I don't chop my fingers off. Very, very important. Also use a sharp knife because it will just glide through the whatever you're cooking a lot, or whatever you're chopping a lot easier. So you're statistically less likely to cut yourself with a sharp knife than you are a dull knife. That's because you have to put more pressure through. So, rule, always have a sharp knife. Now we're going to slice up our little bell pepper. This is so common in Cajun cooking, Southern cooking as well. This dish just reminds me of something that's a mixture of, say, New Orleans and Charleston got together and made a dish. You know, the low country ingredients like bell peppers and the grits and heavy cream. It just, all that screams low country to me. Of course, there's multiple ways to chop up a bell pepper. I don't think there's really a good one, but I like to make it into little slices, sections like that. Slice it up. Slice is really easy when you go down like that, as opposed to just trying to chop it. And then we'll flip it over onto its side and chop those into little bits, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, something like that. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to like the video and subscribe. It really helps us out so we can make more videos. These are a little bit trickier to chop up, the very tops of them, but you know, this is not rocket science. It doesn't have to be exact. So just, you know, little pieces, that's all we want right here. And we're going to put those aside. Now we're going to slice up about a 1/4 cup of green onion. Adds an interesting flavor. And some people love it. Some people don't like it. You know, if you don't like green onion in your dish, just leave it out. That's okay. Now set your pan to medium heat and add some olive oil. Remember to use regular olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil has a much lower smoke point than the regular stuff, so and it's a lot more expensive too. So use the regular stuff and you'll be fine. Now let's go ahead and throw in our diced onions. I'm using just my plain board scraper. We've talked about that many times. I'll put a link in the description. Very useful tool. And we'll go ahead and throw in our green bell pepper. You can use the yellow bell pepper, red bell pepper. The green bell peppers are about half the cost, so that's why I use them. It's just a lot more economical. And the flavor difference is very, very minimal. Now give that a little stir, or better yet, have Action Jackson give it a little stir. This is my 2-year-old. Go ahead and sprinkle in a pinch of kosher salt. And the pan was a little dry, so I added a little bit more olive oil. I tell you folks, this kid is going to be a world-class chef one day. Next, we're going to add the magic ingredients to this dish. It is the Zatarain's blackening season. The recipe originally calls for 2 teaspoons of it, but if you want to go ahead and make that 3 teaspoons or a full tablespoons, knock yourself out. This stuff is incredible. If you like spicy food, you can mix this with a little bit of red pepper flakes, and it makes a really nice spicy food with a whole lot of flavor. I can't tell you how good this spice is. Next, we're going to get our pork ready. I'm just using about a pound, I guess it was a pound, of ham steak from Smithfield's. Nothing special here. You can find this at any grocery store, and I'm just going to cube it up. Of course, Smithfield being the largest pork producer in the U.S. If you weren't aware of it, Smithfield was sold to a Chinese company back in 2003, so sadly it's no longer an American company. It was sold to, the English translation is the Shineway Group, now the WH Group. I guess it changed names. Not even going to try to pronounce the Chinese name for it, but the WH Group owns the largest processor or largest producer of pork in China, and it looks like they own a handful of other smaller pork processors across the country. Politics aside, they make some incredible ham products, some incredible pork products. So here we go with just throwing in our cubed ham into our dish. This smells incredible. I hope you guys try this. And our little monster there is just giving it a little stir. So let Daddy have it, and we'll give that a big stir. So if you have kids, I hope you encourage them to cook because, well, everybody has to eat. Now we're going to prepare grits. We're going to boil 3 cups of chicken broth. You know, if you're using water for your grits, it's just going to be a very plain grit. It's not going to have a lot of flavor at all, and that's fine in some cases if you're just going to add butter maybe. But these grits are out of this world, and it starts with a 3-to-1 mix, 1 cup of grits, 3 cups of chicken broth, and we're going to have the little monster inspect the Gouda here. It seems to have passed inspection. My son no longer asks for cheese sticks. He prefers a cheddar cut directly off the block or smoked Gouda. I'm creating a monster here, folks. Now that our chicken broth is up to a boil, we're going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of quick grits. It takes about 5 minutes or so, 7, maybe 8 minutes for the liquid to fully absorb into the grits. So if it's still kind of soupy after 5 minutes, give it time, it will absorb. Just make sure you're using that 1-to-3 ratio and you'll be just fine. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on it, kill the heat, and just let it simmer. There's enough residual heat in the boiling chicken broth and in the eye that it's going to just continue to simmer a little bit. This is what it looks like after about 5 minutes. Still kind of soupy, but give it time. It will absorb all the liquid. So go ahead and add a pinch of kosher salt. Don't go crazy on this. You don't want to make them too salty. And remember, you can always add more, but you cannot take it out. So at this point, I'm just going to remove it from the eye. If you're cooking with an electric stove, there's a lot of residual heat built up in those elements. Gas, it's pretty much just turned off at that point. And next, we're going to turn our attention to the Gouda and give the kid a popsicle. Somehow I wasn't recording while grating the Gouda, but I grated it with the fine grates, about 4 ounces or about half of this 8-ounce wheel, and just throw it in your pot and give it a good stir. It'll take a couple of minutes to absorb, and folks, these are the best grits that you will ever have. I cannot tell you how good these things are over recording. You're just going to have to try them for yourself. Fair warning, you're going to cook them a lot more than you've ever cooked grits before after this. My apologies again. The camera was not running when we threw in our half cup of heavy cream, a can of diced tomatoes. We did show the blackening season, which is awesome. We showed the bell peppers and onions, but that's been simmering the whole time. So it's making just a really nice, rich cream sauce. Smells incredible. Now that simmered for about 15 minutes, just on low. You don't want to boil so much of your cream sauce out. It makes an incredibly rich, delicious sauce here. So now we get to plate this up and eat it. Very simple presentation. We're just going to put a bed of the Gouda Grits on and a scoop of our mixture here. Again, this really reminds me of New Orleans mixed with Charleston, Low Country versus Cajun. Either way, it's absolutely incredible. Very easy to make, so this is a great weeknight meal. And folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like the video and subscribe. And hope you try this at home.